The better the vibe, the better the time, as the saying goes. That's probably not been said by anyone. But I thought it would be worth, as we've had a couple of days to sort of breathe from week one of the finals, to check in with everyone else. The other teams that didn't make it. Now, I'm not going to include Freo and GWS in this video. They kind of had their reactions, and I think you know my opinions on both of those sides based on the reactions to the games that I gave. So I am going to go through from 9th to 18th on the ladder and just let you know what the vibes are. This has got no projection. It's got hopefully a little bit of logic to it, but before you think I'm a moron, just hear me out on a particular team. And it should be timestamped in the description, so if you want to just see one particular team, just click on that, and you should be good to go. Now, I'm going with 4 categories. If you've not really watched me do these style of videos before, just really quick, the reason why I do 4 is because I feel like whenever someone does 3 or 5, they automatically just put the I don't knows just in the middle. And I don't want to do that in the slightest. So I'm going with 4 so you can at least sit on the fence as a little bit more positive or a little bit more negative. So with much further ado, let's get into it. Carlton, to me, are iffy, and they're iffy for a particular reason, and that very simply is, what is actually going on field? Because off field, I actually think they've solidified themselves really well. I knew that TDK was going, and I don't say that in terms of breaking news. I think we all figured out that he was going to go pre-season. It would have been like $1 on Sportsbet or something like that. The Silvani loss, whilst not great structurally, this is a guy that did average less than 15 games a season. So again, I can understand your either optimistic or pessimistic look at that, because what is he going to be for St. Kilda remains to be seen. But the on the field is going to be the biggest mystery, because they're still missing, of course, what they were missing throughout the year. We haven't obviously got to the trade period yet, but they still need the halfback flankers. We still need to see what's going on with Charlie and Harry and if they're going to stay. I know what the media reports are saying. I'll believe it when I see it when trading one of those out, especially Charlie, by the way. But I like the fact that they've stuck with Michael Voss for at least a year. Let's actually get this shit right is an attitude that I really respect. And we're going to see how this goes. I like the fact that Graham Wright's statement to members finished with our priority is and always will be about the Carlton Football Club. The downside to that, of course, is fans have got every right to wonder, well, what the friggity frack were you doing before this time? Who were you prioritising? So we'll see how that goes. The Campbell Chesser I was a Campbell Chesser fan during his draft year. I wouldn't have put him in my favourites, but I definitely wouldn't have put him in the bust category. We'll see how that goes as a good decision maker, which is what he was known for throughout his draft year. Hopefully he can bring that to the Blues as well. The Blues don't have a great history in bringing in former first-round draft picks from other clubs, so fingers crossed he can break the curse, I suppose. We'll see how that goes, but I don't think it's possible right now to effectively put them in the good. Definitely not. But neutral vibes would be like, we're not really sure. I get that we're not really sure, but it's disaster could be coming, but also could not be. So, iffy is where I stand with the Blues. Putting the Bombers in neutral, which is going to sound strange, because you've got every right to go, Daz, everything about this is yuck. Hear me out. The Bombers this year went through a tumultuous injury period. So what have they done? They've gotten rid of the strength and conditioning guys. Lovely. They need to figure out who is going to be here for the long run. Sam Draper is going. Jordan Ridley looks like he is going. Got no problem with that at all. Wish them all the best. I can understand if you as an Essendon fan are a bit bitten by that, but that's okay. That's the world that we live in. So I've got no problem with the turnover. I've got no problem with all of those things. If they can get health across the board, who knows what they can do. They're not the finished product yet, but I have been waxing lyrical for 2 freaking years on this channel for the Bombers to strip it back. Look, the Shield, the Stringer, the Smith, that experiment didn't work. That could have been offset with good drafting decisions, and it just looks like that is not the case, and I feel bad for Sardis, Hobbs, these guys that just haven't really worked out yet. Could they work at other clubs? Who knows? We'll see what they do there. But the most important person at this football club for the next 4 years is Matt Rosa, who has proven himself to be a good recruiter. Isaac Kako, Nate Caddy. Now, I know Kako was part of the NGA Academy, but the deal that got them Melbourne's first-round pick this year has benefited both clubs. The Bombers are going to get another young talent in this year. Melbourne got Xavier Lindsay. There was no danger of them absorbing a pick with the Kako trade. Win-win across the board. Nate Caddy looks super exciting. As I've mentioned, Archie Roberts is a late pick. Fantastic. No qualms with that at all. The weird space that the Bombers find themselves in is that where most teams, most young teams or rebuilding teams build is through the midfield first. they're actually sorted in that department. If Merritt stays, which is a question mark, but the Hawthorn fan in me says go, but only go to the Hawks. The non-biased fan in me goes, I hope he sticks it out, but I 100% understand his frustration. But it's Merritt, it's Durham, it's, Nick Martin, if you want to put him in there, but Jai Caldwell is naturally going to be your third guy. That's okay for a starting midfield and build the rest of your squad around. Circa, it's a better version of Taranto and Hopper for the Tigers. And Essendon aren't obviously, that terrible, I don't think, fully fit. Now, do they need a game plan update? Yes, absolutely. But if you're telling me that the vibe at the Bombers isn't significantly improved with hopeful health to Zach Reid, hopefully we get to see more of Lewis Hayes. We get to see health in Caldwell. We get to see health in Durham. We get to see health in Nick Martin, which it doesn't look like we're going to get a lot of next year, obviously. Can Peter Wright get a full go at it? What do Caddy, what do Liam McMahon, if he stays on the list? What does Blackiston look like? What does Reece Unwin look like? Archer Day Wicks, these guys, amongst others, that they've brought in this year, how do they look? I can't really jump on board with the potting Essendon bit here because we don't know what's going to happen next year, so we're staying away from the projection side of things. Got no problem with those that want out. Go, we're going to build whether you're here or not. They've got the ruck depth to cover. They don't have the Ridley cover. But overall, we need to wait and see what the heck they do in this offseason. I have faith in Matt Rosa, though. Everyone else, a little bit of a different story. Melbourne, to me, are iffy until we get the coaching announcements and we find out what they do during the offseason because we know the problems that they've got on field. Their key forwards are not that great. May and McDonald are getting older. May especially kind of fell off the cliff this year, which sucks. But Daniel Turner is a big tick. Look, the midfield itself is slow and boring, but without Goodwin there, is a new coach going to have the flexibility, say if all of them stay, but are you going to be able to go, all right, Petrarca, you're now going to be the De Goey role. You're going to be a half forward that rotates through the midfield when we need you to and can get scores on the board. His conversion was terrible. I'm not denying that for a moment. But, we got to try something if they stay, of course. Clary can't play anywhere else, but do you get Trent Rivers in there? I freaking hope so. We know what they did with Cozzy Pickett, which works in a big way. I think they're going to lose Judd McVie in the offseason. It looks like they're targeting Marcus Windhager as your defensive midfield type that replaces Jack Viney long-term. I like that a lot. I've loved the way that they have drafted, outside of the tools, the last couple of years. Harvey Langford, I was a big fan of. Xavier Lindsay, yep, we love him in a big way. Caleb Windsor has come on in leaps and bounds. I hope that Colton Tolstrup can have a big year next year. There is a lot to like at Melbourne. There is a lot to dislike at Melbourne. The amount of fragility that is going on off field at the moment, considering it looks like that no one has a job off the field. So get some stability in there and some better decisions is going to be all well and good. Kalani White nominating helps the vibe a little bit. They stay out of the yuck zone for me, but there are too many big decisions yet to be made for me to go neutral or even good. North, to me, are effectively the definition of iffy at this point because for everything that I'm in love with when it comes to North Melbourne, including their best-looking supporter, by the way, who is just out in my lounge room, but I hate, other things. For every positive you can find is I've got the negative. Now, you could say, doesn't that make it neutral? I just think the things that are on the negative side have greater weight moving forward. So let me give you an example. I love Harry Sheasel. Love what he does. I don't like LDU's season. He ended really strongly. That game against Richmond was exemplary. I'm not going to deny that for a moment. But 1.3 million for a guy who was nowhere near A-grade level is not really good enough. I love Tristan Sherry. I really do. I do not like North's work at stoppages inside their defensive 50. They leaked like a sieve. Luke Parker and Jack Darling were both net positives this year, and I will fight you on this if you want to come at me for it. Jack Darling was a positive for North this year. They didn't get him to be a Coleman medalist, right? They didn't. But help on field and help coach the younger guys. And all reports are he's done the coaching bit beautifully. So tick there. The downside is still a couple of the younger but experienced guys is I find myself getting infinitely frustrated with, a lot. Dylan Stevens, Tom Powell, these type of guys. Now, North fans, you could absolutely like them, and I'm not denying that Stevens and Powell both showed good signs this year. The lack of consistency, Bailey Scott would be another one, is starting to do my head in a little bit, and I am a neutral fan. Hence why we're iffy. I love the forward line. Larkey, Trembath, now they still need another key. I think Cooper Trembath's going to be a third. I'm not saying he is Jack Gunston, but he going to need two bigger bodies there. You're going to need Larkey, you're going to need someone else, and then Trembath, I think he's going to be infinitely more dangerous on a third defender than a second defender. So if you just use, look, I'll use the Hawthorn example, if you will. But if North played Hawthorn in a final next year, just come with me on this for a second, would it be better for North if Cooper Trembath was lined up on James Sicily than Josh Battle? Yes, and that's the attitude that I have here. But Curtis, absolutely love him in a massive way. So there's the positive. Zerha had a really good year, an underrated year, I think. I hate the back line so much. Colby McKercher is my man. Riley Hardiman has a lot of potential. Nearly everything else makes me want to pull my hair out. And again, this is from a guy who has no emotional investment in this at all, maybe apart from wanting to see my missus happy. But the key defender stocks are yuck. They are. And look, Luke McDonald going out later in the year, he had an underrated season. He and Jackson Archer sort of handing the torch over in terms of your lockdown defender. Just don't let them score, and anything else you can do offensively is a win. Like, not everyone is going to be a Blake Hardwick, by the way. So you're looking at it like if they offset each other so much, you're looking at the guys that were around that 2019, 2020, 21, and 22 mark that just aren't coming on enough. Just leaves me going, I'll believe it when I see it. The vibe is iffy. But I do. I love so much about North. I really do. But their bottom end is just, well, iffy. Port Adelaide are in the neutral zone, and for me, they are effectively the spirit of Melbourne, but with more decisions, right? We know who's coaching them next year, Josh Carr. Whatever you think of that process, and I have no idea. I don't know what Carr is going to do. It would be foolish of me to go, this is the game plan, this is what they want to do, this is what they're going to follow, so look forward to this. I'm not going to do that. I do know that, again, a little bit like Melbourne, and a little bit like North, by the way, is I love so much of the top-end talent. Rosie, Butters, Horn Francis. I love Willem Drew. I'm a Kane Farrell guy. I really am. Joe Berriol's a big fan of. I love the Joe Richards inclusion. It was great to see him finish fourth in the best and fairest. Mitch Georgiades has been one of my favorites for a very long time. Like, there's a lot here that I like, but just like a pretty shitty 2000s haircut, my big worry is the fringe. And it's the key defenders are just not great at all. I think the ability to rebound has kind of gone a little bit. Like the Houston loss was, look, he wasn't fantastic at Collingwood, but it's not as if it became infinitely better at Port. But at the end of the day, is Ken's gone. The new identity has to begin somewhere. So what is the point of sitting here going, I feel yuck about it, I feel good about it, I feel iffy about it? At the end of the day, I kind of feel nothing about it because I don't know anything yet. It would be like asking me, how do I feel about, like, Borderlands? I have no idea. I've never played it. Same thing. Boy, do I feel good about the Tigers for a couple of reasons. One, had them as over 2.5, and I have a feeling that's going to pop up in an end-of-season video just between you and me. But one of the surprising aspects of why their season was so good is that we didn't actually see a whole lot of all of the blokes that they drafted and still delivered a 5-win season. Like the experience of Loston, Broad, Lynch, even though, 29 goals I think he kicked this year, which is not a lot, but Nankervis, Taranto, Hopper, Prestia when he played, Camden McIntosh, even though he's not going to be there next year, but a placeholder for a year is never going to be a bad thing there. You saw the rise of already experienced guys like Tom Brown, Sam Banks had their moments in a big way. Ben Miller had really big moments. Tyler Young is now being pursued by other players, which I like, by other teams, I should say. And what I mean by like is it proves the talent, right? Like North Melbourne going after him. I would have Tyler Young over Griffin Logue or Aiden Core or even Toby Pink, and it's not even close, right? So you've got ticks there across the board. I can't remember if I've already spoken about Seth Campbell and Ryan Mansell, but I thought they showed signs. Campbell more so. Like, he won the goal kicking this year. Seth Campbell did, which is just extraordinary. Now, again, they're not the finished product. I'm not saying that they are, but we didn't see Smiley this year. It took ages for us to see Houghton. Harry Armstrong didn't play a lot of games. Jonty Falls showed what he did, but it's not like he played every single game. And of course, others on the list as well. We didn't see Jasper Alger, these guys. So at the end of the day, Richmond are going to go into an off-season. They're going to be the favourites to pick up Cooper Duff-Tytler, even though I was big on them taking Alex Dodson last year. That doesn't look like a bad decision right now. They're probably going to go after just the best talent they can. Are they going to try and trade up for Dersma? Are they going to take Josh Lindsay? Are they going to go with Sam Grill? Or are they going to go with someone maybe forward of centre? Because they are chasing Malcolm Roses Jr. So could they be not necessarily a reach on Lockie Doverston, but could Noah Hibbins-Hargreaves be in the cards for the Tigers? I don't know. But look, outside of Richmond, you might just go, yeah, they're not that good. They'll rebuild. We'll see them when they're good again. But as someone that likes to indoctrinate himself into nearly every team, I don't understand how you could feel anything but excited about this Richmond side as a Richmond fan. And then, of course, if you're a sicko like me, big fan of what's going on at Tigerland. And Adam Uze deserves an apology from a lot of people. The man might not have aura, but he's got a footy brain. We're going back-to-back goods here with St. Kilda, and I can see the comment section already, guys. Hear me out. I don't think every single player they're getting in this offseason are going to be A-graders or all Australians or superstars. I really don't. But that's not the point of the vibe now. Like I said before, this isn't projection. But again, let me remind you, for the non-St. Kilda fans in the room, this is a club that next year is going to celebrate the 60-year premiership reunion of the only flag they've got. They had to pay out 300 grand to like 36 people who aren't at the club anymore. Whether that's players, officials, coaches, whatever it is. Like, they're in the shit of their own doing, by the way. This is not me going out here and going, well, we've got excuses to be made. But since that 66 flag, they lost in 71, 97, 9, draw in 10, lost in 10. What else do you want them to do? They're 12th. If natural progression takes them to, 10th? What good does that do? Swing for the fences. If it all works, and Jack Silvani's healthy, because we saw Tom Barras, who had not played 20 games in the season before, smash that. Missed one, I think. So if Silvani's fit, Tom De Koning is, even if he's 80% of what he was in the first 2 months of this year, and people are going to go, yeah, but is that worth 1.7? Again, probably not. But if he's not coming for 1.1, again, do you want them to do nothing? Now, you could just hate St. Kilda and go, yeah, let them be shit forever. But that's not the point of this video. Is if you've got to overpay. Try something. This isn't as if it blows up, you're screwed. This isn't, I actually can't think of an example off the top of my head because it doesn't really work in the AFL circles and all that, but it's not as if like this is going to screw them over because they've still got young enough talent that if this does blow up a little bit, and I'm not suggesting that if it does blow up in a massive way that there's going to be massive consequences, of course there are going to be, but you've got your two guys down back, Silvani, Aaliyah. You've got Tom De Koning. You've got Liam Ryan, who, again, is he going to be a superstar All-Australian? Like, no, he isn't. But Dan Butler was not that good this year. Now, he's not as good as Jack Higgins, but it's a help. Like, it's a help. And they're trying to get better. I don't see the downside until we see it on the field, them being awful. Until then, when we know these things are coming, the vibe around the Saints has to be good. And look, Saints fans, it's going to be you against the world next year. But I'm telling you, don't back down from this. Until you have the proof that it's awful, assume it's great. Because this is a good thing. You are going all in. St. Kilda are the poker hand equivalent of 7 deuce offsuit. They nearly got close a few times to winning a big hand. But they have found a way to just tip the dealer 100, and look, they might be giving themselves pocket 9s or pocket 10s. I'm not saying they're getting aces. I'm not saying they're getting ace-king, but they're going to get better. Sorry, spare me the negativity until it blows up in their face, and I will happily sit there and go, this is how it went wrong. But as of right now, the 9th of September, 25. This is all good. I like it. I like them swinging for the fences. The results will be what the results will be. But until then, man, ride the optimism wave. Sydney are iffy, and I feel kind of bad here because they're too talented to be shit. They have too many holes to be a contender. Like, they need tall forward help, which of course is why they're going after Charlie, guys. That is not lost on me in the slightest. That helps in a big way. You know, that makes either a Joel Amati or a Logan McDonald your second or third. I personally think that if Charlie is going to Sydney, and I know he's contracted and re-signed this year, but my God, would I be getting on the phone if I was a couple of clubs and going, Logan McDonald, come here. And again, it's not going to be as the number one guy. Can you imagine the irony in North Melbourne going to get Logan McDonald and putting him with Larky, which is what they should have done in 20? And like, as an example, that's just the way it works. But back to the Swans for a second is a side that has got Heaney, Warner, Goulden, who I know was injured throughout the majority of this year. Brody Grundy was in all-Australian-esque form. He was the second ruckman in the squad, for crying out loud. Tom McCartan, one of the better key defenders in the league. Nick Blakey, who although I think is slightly a little bit overrated, is still nowhere near a terrible player. If Tom Papley can get back to his best, and I know ifs and buts are there, at this point in time, I've got faith in Dean Cox. I do. I don't think we've got enough evidence to suggest he's a bad coach or anything like that. I'm definitely not putting him on a great pedestal or anything like that, but they are iffy until we get to the time in the off-season where the improvements are coming. Like, if you are looking ahead to next year, because you might, be watching the finals but support a different team, then maybe you're thinking about, who do I think is going to be good next year? At this point, if you're saying Sydney, you are going on blind faith, which I respect. I won't join you on that island, though. Not yet. West Coast, a yuck. And it's, guys, they won one game. Yeah, look, they've got Starcevic and Callum Archie, I should say, that are linked to them. There is every chance Archie ends up at the Crows, and what a dangerous freaking acquisition that would be. Rankin is a full-time mid. Archie is another. Oh, jeepers. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. There's every chance that Starcevic could still go to Essendon or North at the time of recording. There is different reports that are saying he's favouring different teams, almost as if none of them have got an actual clue. But hey, who am I to judge? But again, until we sort of see it on field or until we see the offseason, they're going to lose Chesser and Ryan. How big of a loss they are going to be on an aggregate basis, we will see. I really hope in this draft that they go with no defensive players at all in the top three that they've got. Now, if Josh Lindsay is in their zone, okay, I can repeal. Is that the word that I'm looking for? Retract is the word. Maybe repeal, but retract is the word that I'm looking for. Retract that statement. I'm a big fan of Josh Lindsay, and I think he would suit that sort of run and gun style that they can try and have around the place. But I think it's got to be, I've talked about Dersma and Sharp like I really have throughout the majority of the season. I still think that is the case, or midfield types. And then I think from there, their next two selections have got to be forward of the ball players. Now, again, the draft isn't always going to work out the way you want it to, so we are going to very happily wait and see what happens. But waiting and see what happens with a team that is losing a couple, not confirmed to be getting anyone yet, and won one game last year. Sorry, Eagles fans, as optimistic as I really want to be. And look, Harley re-signing is an awesome thing for vibes. The rise of Ruben Jinby is fantastic. Elijah Hewitt's late season form, we love to see it. Tom McCarthy as a recruit, mid-season recruit, excellent. But at the end of the day, I still can't get over that speed bump of one dub. Sorry. Now, remember when I said before that I was going to do 4 tiers? If I could add a 5th one and call it great vibes, so not go in the middle, but if I could go great, good, neutral, iffy, yuck. If the Bulldogs, I know it's an if, but if the Bulldogs get Callum Wilkie, I'm not saying they're my premiership favourite, but there would be no better acquisition next year guaranteed if he played 20-plus games. None. Zero. Nada. Don't care. Marcus Bontempelli could go to the Crows. He's not going to. But I still think Wilkie would be the better fit. Now, granted, he would be going to the Dogs and Bont would be going out, so maybe they cancel each other out. The point that I'm trying to make here is that he solves, 70% of their problems. Tall defender, down back. It's Rory Lobb, ain't it. James O'Donnell is probably not it as a number one guy. So, where do you go from here? He solves all of that. The 1.1, man, 1.5. I mean, I don't know their books, so it's easy for me to sit here and just go, just tack on another 400,000, as if I've got any idea how the salary cap system is working at the Bulldogs. But as it stands, I am very neutral on them because my opinion of them versus the Freo game hasn't changed. They have a lot of A graders that are getting older. They have a lot of B graders that are not going to get better. They have too many guys who aren't good enough and are not developing enough of the youth. So until you actually want to fix a few of those problems, good luck to you. Now, Jamara going, probably we'll see how that goes. A fit Cody Waitman helps in a big way. Buku Karmas looks like he's going to be on the move again in terms of a depth piece. We'll see how much of a loss that becomes. But the Bulldogs, for me, are the epitome of I need to see what they do in the offseason. Again, they are too talented to be shit. They have too many holes to be a contender. And you could argue that they should be in the iffy pile with Sydney for the exact same reasoning, but the Bulldogs finished higher than Sydney, so here they go. So there we go, guys. They are my off-season teams tiers in terms of vibes. What do you think? Comment below. Let me know. Like the video if you like the video. And just remember, guys, we are allowed to disagree. It is not a bad thing. Let me know what you think I got right or wrong. Give me your opinions and all of those beautiful things. Keep it civil. I love having footy chat with you guys and try to respond to as many comments as I can. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. We will be back. I'm going to try and do one more video before the start of week 2. If that doesn't happen, well, we've got the Adelaide Hawthorn reaction to come. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. I appreciate it. Love you all. See you next time.